What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 318 of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. I am your host, Tony Mango, as always, and this is the first podcast of the new year. Happy 2018, everybody. Hopefully, you will have a great year. Hopefully, we'll all have a great year, including on the WWE side of things, including on the hot tags, because that is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be breaking down the current events, rumors, news, gossip, and everything else that went down in the world of professional wrestling over the past couple of days for the holiday weekend and everything that kind of was the spillover before and afterward. The last time you guys heard from us was the 2017 End of the Year Awards. Hopefully you guys had a lot of fun when it came to that one. And now we need to start off the brand new year with a bunch of different stories. And some of them are pretty interesting in one way on the negative side. Some of them are pretty interesting on the somewhat positive side. So let's just dig right into it with the, well, I guess you could say the least interesting of the bunch. But the weirdest one, because we might as well start off with something weird. Some fan is trying to sell 2 strands of Sasha Banks' hair on eBay. So if you are one of the creepy people that are into that kind of thing, head on over there, bid as much as you can, and, I don't know, supplant your odd fetish, you friggin' weirdo. I don't really know why that's something that caught the news rounds recently, but it did, and it was interesting enough for me to mention it here, and, that's pretty much all I have to say about the whole thing. So go ahead and look it up if you want to know more information about how much it costs and, and the other kind of details like that. Let's move on to a different story here, though. Much more serious one, and one that has more ramifications going forward, of course, which is that Paige has been injured. She was at a live event, and she took a kick to the back with Sasha Banks, trying to do just a typical kind of spot, nothing too crazy, and they had to throw up the X, and she hasn't wrestled since then. So it seems like there is indeed some kind of an injury, but since there haven't been any kind of reports about how exactly she has been injured and how long she might be out, or if she requires any kind of surgery, or just kind of maybe banged something up a little bit and aggravated a previous injury, we can't really be sure how much this is going to affect the future. I don't think that she was really necessarily going to be one of those main candidates for the Royal Rumble, but she could have been. And if that's the case, then they need to figure out something else if she's not going to be competing. Even if she isn't going to be competing and she wasn't going to be one of the actual top contenders, they might have had a big spot planned for her and she might not be able to do that anymore. On top of that, they would also need to find at least one other woman that could replace her. So that might not be necessarily somebody that they were expecting to bring in if that's the case. Because if they looked at the list of the 20 women that they had available and they had 10 names that they thought that they could bring in, we might see an extra person from NXT or somebody from the Mae Young Classic come in to take Paige's spot if that's the case. I don't think that's necessarily going to come down to that. I think that Paige is probably just going to rest up for the next few weeks. And we'll see Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose wrestle in matches while Paige is on the outside and won't necessarily get into any kind of scuffles or anything like that. And she'll probably get a limited amount of time in the Royal Rumble itself, but maybe that wasn't exactly how they wanted to go. I don't know. We're not going to figure that out until a little bit later on in January. And if that was some kind of a huge change, I'm sure some more reports are going to be popping up about that in the near future, probably as we get a little bit closer to the event, because by that point, then, we're going to have like more solidification of like who is going to be in the Royal Rumble and whether or not there's a chance that maybe some surprises are spoiled or, anything around that. So more on Paige a little bit later, and we'll see what happens. Sadly, that's not the only sad news that we have going on, but this is another speculative one, which is that Carmella and Big Cass might have broken up, and if you are somebody who follows the gossip side of things, this is probably some juicy stuff. She removed all references to him on social media, and she unfollowed him on Twitter, which can't possibly be good for a relationship, and that seems to indicate more than anything that they probably split, and she probably is just cutting all ties with him. And it's weird that this were to happen when not a few months ago they just bought a house together. But maybe that's actually the reason why. Maybe they were one of those couples that just kind of were better off when they weren't necessarily living together with a house that they had bought. Maybe, some kind of issues with like Cass being home all the time. now that he's injured. Maybe he was kind of getting a little bit like jealous or something like that. I don't know. Total speculation. I don't know a goddamn thing about this, so don't put any kind of actual, merit to what I'm saying, but it does seem like that would be the most likely scenario, is that they broke up if they are not following each other and stuff like that. And it seems, I guess, more that Carmella is mad at Cass if she's the one that kind of outright did all those moves, but you never really know. And if they are split up, we could see some pretty interesting pairings going on in the future with Carmella. We could see maybe Big Cass getting some kind of changes in the future if he changes up his persona a little bit when he comes back, or some different people dating in the company or something like that. Could maybe even get some different tag team partners or on-screen partners or anything crazy like that going on. But now we also have a little bit more of a reason to have the two of them split on the roster. If they aren't together anymore, then there's no reason to bring Cass over to SmackDown, which I had thought would have been a pretty decent thing to do if he would have been able to, and now there's not really as much of a case for it. Let's talk about two new TV shows that they just debuted. One of them is WWE Film Room, which I honestly didn't watch the full episode for, but what I did watch, I liked quite a bit. It was, and I'm assuming that this is going to follow the same format, Michael Cole taking a wrestler, showing them some kind of footage from some previous stuff in the past, and them basically sitting down and watching it and talking about it. Very similar to what the other one is, which is WWE Photo Shoot. That was 2 episodes, The Miz and Cesaro, and I did watch the full versions of those 2. And that one is a wrestler sitting down and looking at photos and talking about the previous things that, those photos reference. Really similar, so I don't really know why they necessarily are doing both, because I would think that it could kind of just be the same sort of thing. But WWE really, really likes to take things on the WWE Network and beat them down as, like, we've had, 20 different types of interview shows now, and they're all essentially the same. It's just like a slight change in the gimmick. So some of them are good, some of them are bad. It kind of depends on the stories being told, and it kind of depends on the people themselves that are in the interviews. The WWE Film Room with Big Show talking about the Floyd Mayweather feud that went on back in 2008 or so. That was pretty interesting. He was diving into some more detail, talking about some knowledge that we weren't aware of, like how it was supposed to be originally a tag team match with Batista and Rey Mysterio involved before they got injured, and how he didn't know that he was going to get pyro that night, and some different things when it came to that. So I recommend that you should check that out if you are interested, particularly if you're interested in that feud. But for somebody like myself, I think the Big Show is a little bit underrated and pretty interesting guy. So I was kind of interested in that. And for the photo shoot with the Miz and Cesaro, I'd recommend that as well too. They weren't the most interesting things in the world when it comes to talking about pure content, but they were interesting enough that I think that it's got a little bit of legs. Apparently Cesaro one was like 3 times longer than what the actual episode is or so. And I'm curious what they cut out of the mix, because if he rambled and rambled and rambled, maybe he had some really good stories that they just, weren't really making us privy to. The Miz was talking about a lot of different interesting things, like how he tried to get a rap going on with R-Truth, but it was just so bad that they weren't able to actually do it. How emotional he was when he won the WWE Championship for the first time, and some other little tidbits that I wasn't too aware of. Like, he had to fight for the Hollywood angle, and I would have thought that would have been a WWE specific thing that they would have told him to do. So between that and the Cesaro stuff, he makes fun of the fact that he used to have long hair. They talk about the whole teeth situation, and even the Cesaro swing with Khali, and they bounce around here and there. Show a little bit of his debut with Teddy Long and Oksana. It's interesting enough, and if you're not a fan of those kind of things, then I would say skip them, because if you have heard this breakdown of what it is, you know what it is. It's just a matter of, do you care enough to know the extra little bit of facts? If you do like those kind of things, by all means, definitely check them out. They are not the biggest episodes, not like some 3-hour kind of commitment or anything like that. And you can just kind of binge them whenever you want. There's no like continuity kind of issues or anything like that. You're not going to get any spoilers for any future episodes or, Raw or SmackDown or something. It's just another variation of an interview and people talking about the past. So maybe you have a connection to that. Maybe you don't. totally up to you. We have some information about the 2017 NXT Year-End Awards. I thought that they were actually going to be announced tonight. Well, it turns out the categories would be announced tonight. So I pretty much had this whole thing set up about, me telling you what I thought were the best choices and different things like that. And instead, we just have the options. So I'm going to run these down very, very quickly because I'm sure that you don't want me to read absolutely everything about that. But we've got, for the different categories, we have NXT TakeOver Event of the Year, which of course could be San Antonio, Orlando, Brooklyn 3, Chicago, or War Games. We have the Female Competitor of the Year, and the options for those are the Iconic Duo, Ruby Riott, Nikki Cross, Ember Moon, and Asuka. The Male Competitor of the Year options are Bobby Roode, Drew McIntyre, Aleister Black, Andrade Cien Almas, and for some reason Roderick Strong. He didn't really accomplish anything this year, so I really don't understand why anybody would vote for him, but whatever. We have the Overall Competitor of the Year, where you could pick between the men and the women, and one of them wins. Doesn't matter, can be male or female. The Tag Team of the Year options are the Undisputed Era, DIY, the Revival, Sanity, and the Authors of Pain. Some pretty good choices there. The Breakout Star of the Year options are Lars Sullivan, Undisputed Era, Sonya Deville, Ruby Riott, The Velveteen Dream, Andrade Cien Almas with Zelina Vega, and Aleister Black. Kind of hoping that maybe Aleister Black wins that. I think it's like the best thing, but I would be totally okay with Velveteen Dream. Don't think that he will. It's probably going to be Undisputed Era because a lot of people vote for those people that really like them. The Future Star of the Year award, many different options there, and some of them stand out as more interesting than others to me. The Street Profits, Heavy Machinery, Shayna Baszler, who hasn't yet wrestled for NXT, Kairi Sane, Fabian Eichner, who I think is really underrated, and nobody's going to vote for him, but he is underrated. Lio Rush, I don't think he's going to get any good votes, especially not in the locker room. Bianca Belair, and Lacey Evans. Personally, if I were going to pick on this, I would say, and Cesar Bononi, or Cesar Bononi, or Cesar Bononi, or whatever the hell you want to call that guy. He's also there as well, but nobody's going to vote for him. I personally would probably go with, for the Future Star of the Year, Shayna Baszler. I think that she's probably got the longest, chances to kind of go somewhere. Kairi Sane's another good pick, though. I really am digging the Street Profits, so I'd be cool with them winning, but I doubt that that's the case. And we also have Match of the Year. Bunch of different options there. I'm not going to read off all of them. That's going to take way, way too long. If you go to WWE.com/shows/WWE NXT, you'll eventually see the list of the full thing there. But we've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13 or so matches, and some really strong contenders there. We got the DIY Revival AOP match. We've got the War Games match. We've got the DIY AOP separately match, Velveteen Dream versus Aleister Black. A lot of different good options there. And we have the Rivalry of the Year, which the options are Shinsuke Nakamura and Bobby Roode, Ember Moon and Asuka, Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. That's a really good one that you could pick. Sanity and Undisputed Era, Cassius Ohno and Hideo Itami. Who the hell would vote for that one? Hashtag DIY versus Authors of Pain, and Aleister Black versus Velveteen Dream. I probably would go with Bate Dunne. Ember Moon Asuka is another good choice. I don't know. So you can vote on that now. The voting is actually available. And the way that they want you to do it this year is to tweet. So if you tweet hashtag NXT Award Mail, and then you leave your hashtag of Bobby Roode, then you cast your vote, and they, kind of do it that way. I will not necessarily be casting my votes because I really kind of hate Twitter. But I will tell you guys in the future if they, when they release all the people that are winning the awards, I'll give you guys a breakdown, tell you if I think that that's a good decision or not. And I already told you some of my picks already. Got to look back on the previous TakeOver events and see which ones I like the best. Maybe TakeOver Brooklyn 3, I don't know. Anyway, we have a little bit more information as far as the Mixed Match Challenge as well. One of them is that we know the commentary team is going to be Corey Graves, Michael Cole, and Beth Phoenix. which is pretty interesting. Mixed Match Challenge thing is doing a male and female type of thing, so it would have been weird if they wouldn't have had a female commentator. And the fact that they didn't bring Lita back from Mae Young Classic means that maybe they kind of agree that she just wasn't really all that great on the commentary. I'm totally cool with Beth Phoenix giving it a shot, and if this means that she's even more in the mix and could potentially make a run for that Royal Rumble, totally up for that. I think Beth Phoenix would be great to be the first ever woman to compete in the men's and female Royal Rumble matches. That'd be really kind of cool. We also had the first 2 tag teams announced for the Mixed Match Challenge. One of them is Bobby Roode and Charlotte Flair, obviously for the SmackDown side of things. And for the Monday Night Raw side of things, we have the, I think, tallest man on the roster and the shortest woman on the roster. It's Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman. 2 people that, you could stack up 5 Alexa Blisses and they still don't seem to match the same when it comes to Braun Strowman. And I know that Nia Jax had a lot of things going on where she was trying to get Braun Strowman. That would have been a little bit overkill. Who would have beaten that team? But the Enzo Amore situation could potentially change with that, because it seemed like she and Enzo would have been a really good pairing with that whole setup that they're doing with a romantic relationship with them. Yet Enzo has been hospitalized for the flu, and the latest information has been that he has been pulled from the Mixed Match Challenge. Although I'm really kind of curious why that's the case, because we have another 12 days or so. I think it's the 16th is the first live episode. So we have actually more than that. I think he'd be pretty much done with the flu by then. And maybe they just don't want to bank on anything. And if they need to change it at the last minute, then they will. But I'm a little bit kind of curious about that. Maybe they wanted to pull him for a different reason. I don't know. I wouldn't be too shocked if that story with Enzo and Nia ends if he is not able to do the Mixed Match Challenge, because I kind of feel like maybe that's the reason why they put them together in the first place. But we'll see. No information yet on who the other 2 members of that are, nor who Enzo Amore's replacement is. But when I know that, you'll know that either in hot tags or in some other kind of report. That actually is going to round us out for the hot tags for this week, everybody. The next time you're going to be hearing me is going to be the double edition at the beginning of the year that we always do. The one to watch for 2018 and the 2018 future endeavors forecast, where we will respectively be talking about who we think are going to have some breakout years in WWE versus who we think are going to be fired this year or quit or released or forced to retire due to injury or anything else like that. The 2018 breakdown of basically who's going to soar to the top and who's going to fall to the bottom. That is going to be coming up a little bit later on this week, Friday at some point, most likely. The upload might be Saturday morning. I don't know. It depends on your time zone and stuff. I know that a lot of people are going to be interested on my thoughts on Wrestle Kingdom 12 and why that's not in the hot tags. And that's because it's currently around 11:30 when I'm recording this on the 3rd. It's not actually happening yet, so I can't tell you. But I will tell you in advance. I don't know who the hell is wrestling all that much. I probably can't tell you anything about half the people, yet it'll probably be fun, probably be funny, and I'm curious to see what it is. So I will be checking it out at some point, and I'll kind of let you guys know. But hopefully, if you're listening to this in the meantime, before that happens, you guys check us on the Mega Maniacs, and you join in on the live chat that we're going to be having on that one. And if you're not, then, I don't know, go back in time. It kind of works. But as far as the next time that you guys are going to be hearing anything from the Smack Talk side of things, remember, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell that you can check off for notifications. You will receive them when I post new videos up. And another way to get around that, particularly if you are listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher, is to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at SmarkOutMoment. And you could also even subscribe to the RSS feed on SmarkOutMoment.com and be aware of any of those posts, because everything's kind of all synced up. And once you get the one thing, then the other things will kind of tell you, and you'll be good to go. Next week, after we do the one to watch and the future endeavors forecast, of course, another edition of the hot tags. And I haven't quite figured out what the main event yet is going to be for that. So there's a couple different varieties, maybe some kind of a Smark announce table for a Royal Rumble, because I really like doing that around this time of the year. Maybe next week will be the mailbag. I doubt it, though. I think that we're going to do the mailbag either the week afterward or at the end of the year. So either episode number 320 or 322. Maybe Mixed Match Challenge predictions on the whole scenario with the January 17th or so episode. I don't know. We'll have to see when it comes to that. But stay tuned for all that kind of stuff happening on this YouTube channel. You know where to find me, and I will see you next time. This has been another Smark Out moment, and I'm being counted out.